So yeah, a couple weeks ago I got my oil changed in the other car. I just pull in, let them change it, And then this car went and done it. Yeah, I know how to change my oil, but it's not worth it. I'm so busy that some things especially if you run a little side business or something, some things it's better to delegate out. That saves you time, energy, effort, tools. By the time you buy the tools, buy the ramps, buy the parts, going to the parts store, the gas, it's better just to let somebody else do it. Sleep is important. Your spare time is important if you have any. It's really wild, to be honest with you. Who wants to really spend $70 for oil change? But I could probably do it for 30 or something myself. But that extra time saved is almost worth it. It is worth it. Because I could, if I hit it right, I can make that 30 an hour, especially when things are busy. 25 to 30 an hour when ride share is ramped up, especially on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Some things are worth paying for. I really don't have anything to say. I usually have something to talk about, but I really don't have anything to talk about. Let me put it on pause, see if something comes to mind. Yeah, I forgot. I was going to talk about this earlier today. Yeah, so I was thinking about how in the book of Revelation it says during the tribulation the devil's going to do a lot of signs and wonders, right? And if you think about all the stuff in the skies, it's like a precursor. You're starting to see it before it happens, where the UFOs, the miscellaneous stuff in the skies. But the beast in Revelation is going to be doing miracles, drawing fire down from heaven and stuff like that. And so I was thinking today, maybe that's why we're starting to see weird stuff in the sky, just weird stuff in general. I mean, I'll be honest with you. When I look at the clouds, and I've talked to a bunch of people, I said, when you were a child, don't you remember the clouds would always be moving in the inside? I never saw clouds that just sit there. And they're just sitting there. Usually the inside is turning or moving, or the outside. Now, instead of them moving, they just fade away. They fade in and fade out. They're not really moving. They're just fading in and fading out. So I think the signs and the wonders, the Antichrist talks about the first beast and the second beast, and the one dies, raises from the dead, points back to the other one or something like that. I can't remember it right now exactly how it says it, but I think the second beast points back to the first beast. It's animated. It's brought back to life. It's animated. And so that's where you see these holographic experiments in the sky that they're doing and stuff, The whole world's going to be fooled, whether it's a pandemic or whatever, those who are saved, we see through the deception, and that's why they test us. They test the whole world to see how many people believe the deception. It's like the devil's testing to see if he can come on the scene yet. But he's trying to destroy the earth. But notice, because Jesus comes back to destroy those that would destroy the earth. But look at all this growth. I'm noticing the harder they attack the earth, the more it grows. The trees, the brush, the more everything just grows. A lot of this right here is within a few days. It's crazy. They'll mow this, a few days later it's growing right back up. I'm telling you, it's the growth of the vegetation and the plants and all is just off the root. I remember you could mow your yard and it lasts a month. Now you mow your yard and it lasts only a week. It don't even last a week. Seriously. I mean, look at all that growth right there. It's just exponential growth. I got a tree that's just, I've been meaning to cut it down, and last year it was like this tall. It was near the house. I wanted to cut it down. Now it's like double that size within 6 months. And I need to dig it up and move it because it's a pretty good tree. I just don't want to have it near the house. Transport it to another house, I think. That's what I'll do. Get some shade, but away from the house, I might do that tonight if it doesn't start raining and dig that tree up. That's probably what I'll do. But that's some stuff that I'm noticing. The vegetation is growing like crazy. The grass, trees. The harder they try to destroy this place, the more it grows up. It's kind of like the Old Testament era. The Pharaoh tried to reduce the population of Israel in the Old Testament, and they just kept multiplying till they finally said, we're leaving this place. The other thing I want to talk about, okay, so the white man got free from the king of England or whoever it was over there. Then the black man got free from the southern whites. Slavery. Now we need somebody. Now we need the Spanish people or somebody to get free from this inflation. They're enslaving everybody now. So what was happening in England, now it's happening here through inflation. What they have, the Boston Tea Party, taxes. Now we're being taxed, and we're being taxed with a hidden tax. The inflation is a hidden tax. They print all that money, it's a hidden tax. So we need another freedom movement, We came over here to get away from high taxes. Then we had the slaves that they brought in. They got free. Now they're using hidden taxes, and everybody's waking up. Everybody's a slave now to the hidden tax. It's always about money, remember. It's always about money. The only reason somebody would make a slave is they want free labor, It's always about money. And so we need somebody now. We need everybody working together would be perfect to rise up against this hidden tax that they're high. The more they print money, the more it costs you. It's all a mind game, psyop, Printing money devalues the dollar, and the cost of bread goes up triple. That's all it is. It's really that easy. People say, oh, there's more to it than that. Well, that's the basics. Yeah, they can remove money from the system, but Why does the debt keep getting higher and higher? It's just ridiculous. It's all manipulation. In a devil's system of slavery, right? In a devil's system of slavery. In God's system, when Jesus rules for 1,000 years, the kings of the earth are going to have to bring 10% and give honor. The people and the kings of the earth have to give 10% because they go back to the old economy. Right now we're under grace. They're going to have to give 10%, and that's it. But the devil, he's wanting what? 30, 40, 50, 60%. Deep down, God wants it all. You know, He wants you to give your whole body, soul, spirit, you know, as a worship service to God. You know, it's all His anyway. He didn't have to create us. Created man to fellowship. And what I'm noticing, there's very few people that really want to fellowship to the spiritual truths, you know. I got one person, she and I text, and we talk about, that's what we talk about, the code, and Bible, and stuff that happens. Most people, they just want to talk about football and basketball. She understands the code. So that fellowship that you have with God should be actually it should be with one another, parallel with one another. But if you go over here to the local church, they're not wanting to talk about the deeper things. And if you do see deeper than them, they get offended that instead of them talking back and forth, they feel like you're trying to be prideful because you dug a little bit deeper than them. You know, it shouldn't be that way. If somebody has the gift of teaching, really you can learn from all saints. Everybody learns from each other. But if somebody has the gift of teaching, why not learn from that person? It's not a flesh thing. It's a spiritual thing. Why play like the world where it's a pride game or something? Why be like the world? I know more than you. You don't know more than me. You don't understand. You know, it's ridiculous. I sacrificed 7 years of my life to learn the code, and everything in front of me and you is coded. That car has a deeper meaning. That car is a carriage to carry, transport, to move you to the next state. It's a type and a shadow of you being birthed in the inner man to your new state, your destination. This intersection is intersection. Crossroad. Not only can you see it, but you see it in the words. The words, an intersection looks like a cross. And it's called a crossroad. So not only do you see it and just looking at it, but you also see the words tell you that it's a crossroad. And the word section probably means a piece cut off. So if that intersection back there looks like this one up here, and then it looks like the next one, then that tells you each intersection, the same stuff's going on at each intersection. And you notice the green and the red light. That's Cain versus Abel. And so you got the cross, you got the fractal hologram, you got the series in sequence, you got the cars going to your destination, you're in series after Christ. The whole truth is being preached right here in front of me, right now, in front of you. You look over to the right and it says green Ford, The word ford means crossing. There's the cross. Here's your intersection, your crossroad. There's the cross. Tree, true, faithful, faith. There's the poles. That represents faith. A pole, an upright, represents faith. So you got faith, you got the cross, you got the series, you got the sequence, following after Christ in series and sequence. You got the patterns, the the turn. You got the Cain versus Abel. You got the communication wires, there's communion. You mean the whole, right in front of you is everything that the Bible teaches. The overarching food drive, there's food. Eat of my flesh, drink of my blood, eternal life. So you eat in the natural, which points to eating in the spiritual. Because Jesus is eternal life. You have to eat, and if you eat and drink of the natural, you die. But if you eat and drink of the eternal, you live forever. Take on his nature, right? When you eat food, they say, you are what you eat, right? You are what you eat. Well, is that true? Pretty much. Is it true spiritually? Yeah. If you eat of the world, the flesh, the pride of life, that's what you are. If you eat and drink of the Word of God, which points back to Jesus, that's what you become. What you gaze upon, you become. What you gaze upon, you become. And the word gaze could mean what you think on, what you look at, what you listen to, what you meditate on, what you cogitate. Cogitate is the cogs of your mind, turning the truth over and over and over and over. Cogitation. So what you think on, you become. What you gaze upon, you become. What you cogitate, you chew the cud, that's what you become. Chew the cud of the word. That needs to come back. The cows chew the cud. They regurgitate it. So when you eat and drink of the word, you regurgitate it. It comes back up. You say, okay, what does that mean? Okay, what does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? You regurgitate the truth, rightly dividing it, line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little. And so the truth never contradicts itself. The Word of God, the Word interprets itself. The Bible interprets itself. And so as you regurgitate and think about one verse and compare it to another verse, and then you see a deeper truth, you know. You see a deeper truth. That's the deal, people. Bridge. We're going over a bridge from one side to the other. So what does the bridge represent? I just went over a bridge. In order to get to God, you got to go through a bridge. And what's the bridge? Jesus is the bridge. How do you spiritually cross the bridge? By faith. By faith alone, in Jesus alone. Not of works, lest any man should boast. If anybody says you got a faith plus works, they're liars. They're a cult. It's a cult. Because the devil has created a works-based system, and you never find peace in that. But God says Jesus finished the work. It's finished before the foundation of the world. And so those who enter into that rest, which is by faith. The only way you're going to have rest in this 3D reality is by faith. Faith in the finished work of Jesus. Hebrews 4, read it. And I know it's complicated because the way it's said. But if you really think about what he's saying in Hebrews 4, he said the work was finished before the foundation of the world. We enter in by faith into that rest. And he kind of uses a oxymoron, and he says, I don't know if it's in Hebrews 4, but it's somewhere in the New Testament. He says, labor to enter into that rest. I think it's in Hebrews 4. In other words, work hard to enter into rest. So it sounds like he's contradicting, but he's not. He's using a pun on words. Work hard to enter into rest. And how do you do it? You enter in by faith. And so the way you work hard is give up all this work out here and just enter in by the finished work of Jesus, who did the work for you. And this is why I say it's good to know about everything's deja vu and everything is the now, because the work was already done before the foundation of the world. So how do you enter into that rest? How do you labor to birth in that rest? By faith. And then you're finished. It's finished. The work was already done before the foundation of the world, before you were born 2,000 years ago, before you even were brought into this place. And so you labor hard to enter into faith. You labor to enter into rest, which is by faith. And so once you step in by faith, it's over. Your labor is over. And the labor is the labor, you could look at it this way. I'm not saying this is a proper interpretation, but this should apply. You're laboring to get rid of all the false doctrine of works, levels, ranks, grades, ratings. You've been brainwashed your whole life to cast off those things because it magnifies the flesh. And so you're saying, it's not a works. It's not my ranking. It's not my doing. It's nothing to do with me, because the labor was finished. The deed was finished before the foundation of the world, the Lamb slain. So you're working hard to get rid of those old ways, and to remember, you get rid of the brainwashing, and you remember what happened before the foundation of the world. So then you just enter into rest. And that's what, and I think he does. I think he put that in the Bible on purpose, because when people read that in Hebrews 4, labor to enter into that rest, it's like, well, he's saying works. No, he's not. He's saying labor to enter into rest. Faith, by faith, because it was the Lamb slain before the foundation. The works were done. On the seventh day, God rested, right? So he's kind of throwing, and there's a lot of chapters like that. There's a lot of verses like that where he throws that in there, and I think he throws it into there for a reason, to separate the sheep from the goats. Because if he's drawing you, you're going to be able to see that. There's a lot of places where it looks like it's a contradiction, but it's not. And the reason it looks like a contradiction is because you're looking at it from the flesh mind. But once you enter into the spirit mind, it's not a contradiction. It makes total sense. Because all you know as a flesh creature is labor, birthing, labor, copy machine, repeat, blood, sweat, and tears. All you know as a flesh creature is labor. So it's already finished before the foundation work. God rested on the seventh day. Read Hebrews 4 and read it slowly. If you have to read it in the NIV or whatever, do it. Do what you got to do to understand that chapter. Use AI, whatever. If I was to say on the AI chat GPT 3, 5, or whatever it is now, if I said, well, why does Hebrews 4 say that you enter in by rest, but then he says to labor to enter into that rest? If it's faith alone, and AI will tell you that, then why does he say labor and work hard to enter into rest? And AI probably would figure it out before most humans. And it's sad. It's kind of like it's kind of like all you know is labor, right? You're trying to, before you get saved, you're trying to be good enough, and you can never get good enough. And so he says labor to enter that rest. In other words, labor to give up your good works, which are none. You have none. If you do have any, it's God doing it through you. You're laboring to give up your own strength, your own power, the energy of the flesh. You enter in by faith. That's what he's saying. And it's actually hilarious how people misinterpret that. And you're just scratching your head thinking, can't you? Other people tell jokes. Can't the Bible make a parable or I don't know if it's called a simile or whatever. Can't the Bible make a deep joke to wake you up that you're laboring hard to go to hell, but if you really want to labor, you labor hard to enter into faith to go to heaven. If you really want to get to heaven, you got to labor hard to find faith alone. But if you want to go to hell, just stay in the labor of your good works and you'll never get there. I'm not explaining it too well, but somebody will know what I'm talking about. If you hear this, read Hebrews 4 and come back and tell me what you think. Because I'm not coming up with the right words to explain my point. But you know, if you're saved, you know what I'm trying to say. I don't have to debate with the born again people because they already know. That's the good thing about it. So that fellowship, just like when you're fellowshipping with somebody and you're trying to get somebody to understand my point. With the saved people, you don't even need to because they got the Bible too. They already know it too. The ones who struggle with it, a lot of times they're not going to get saved because they're trying to figure it out in the energy of the flesh. They might get saved. God would have all men to be saved, come to knowledge of the truth. But my point is, read Hebrews 4 and meditate on that and think about how the unsaved would say, see, the Bible contradicts itself because it's saying labor to enter into rest, but it says at the same time, the work was already done and you enter in by faith. Read that and you could understand why they would say it's a contradiction, but spiritually we know it's not a contradiction. It makes total sense. And he says it that way for a reason. To stump the chumps. I really believe God puts certain verses that are hard to understand to stump the chumps that think it's a works-based system because he knows they will not run to Jesus. They want to be good enough in their own power, you know. It's as easy. John 3:16 is so easy. But they choose the hard way. And if you noticed a workaholic, if you ever noticed a workaholic growing up, a lot of times if you watch them, because my stepdad was that way, he always chose the hard way. He could have made it certain things could have been so easy, but he always wanted to make it hard. He did get saved before he died, but he always wanted to make it hard. And I used to scratch my head and think, because I saw a lot of people like that. They wanted to, whether it's mowing the grass or changing the tire, they always wanted to make it hard. There was something in them that they wanted to punish themselves. You understand? You understand what I'm saying? I'm serious. That's a real thing. I don't know what the psychological term would be, but it's like people feel like they need to be punished or something instead of taking the easy route because it's already finished. It's already been done. Why make it harder than it should be?